One small step for man, one giant illegal leap for mankind. Steph Curry thinks that last reference is fake. Also, the bleep missed out of this.
I missed out of this, man.
With Adonde, Kalishaw, Page, and Kimes. Let's go! Nina Kimes, are you seriously going to argue that the Bobby Wagner play was not illegal? Are you going to do that?
No, but it wasn't a leap. He was stationary.
Seahawks 21, Vikings 7. This was not a 21-7 game. It was barely a game for 90% of it. Cousins and Wilson's trying to one-down each other. Not one-up each other, one-down each other. And it led to the news of the afternoon. Vikings firing their offensive coordinator, John DeFilippo. The question you may have been asking last night, what is wrong with these Vikings? They were one game from the Super Bowl last year. Spent $84 million last winter. Most of that was on the quarterback. The team answered that today by getting rid of the offensive coordinator. So we'll start with you, Mina. Does that make sense? How much of the Vikings struggle has been based on their offense? How much is Cousins?
Well, when your offense ranks 17th in efficiency according to Football Outsiders after finishing 5th last season, the blame should go all around. And given the well-documented conflict between DeFilippo and head coach Mike Zimmer, I'm not surprised. But I thought last night most of the blame should have gone to Kirk Cousins. I mean, we're talking about a guy who was averaging 3.29 yards per attempt going into the fourth quarter, and most notably was only 1 for 7, according to NFL Next Gen stats, when a defender was within 2 yards of him. He was horrible under pressure. That's not on the offensive coordinator, but it's something that they're going to have to fix given that they committed $84 million to the quarterback.
Woody Page?
Well, I agree to an extent, but that offensive line in Minnesota is just terrible. I mean, he didn't have much time. Whoever called that play where you throw a pass 4 yards in the other direction probably deserves some of the blame, too. And I think that the offensive coordinator who came in from Philadelphia, they have concentrated more on passing this year with Kirk Cousins than they did with Case Keenum last year when they were running effectively the ball. I don't quite understand why they had to shift so much, except they have 2 wide receivers that have been efficient for the last several years. Yeah. The problem was that Seahawks have gone to that 7 defensive backs and 6 offensive linemen about half the game. That's very effective. So I think you have to give a lot of credit to Seattle for how bad
that explains last night, Woody Page, sure. But on paper, this Vikings team should be as good, if not better, than last year. Wouldn't you all agree? Tim Kalishaw, what's their malfunction here?
I mean, I still think a big part of it has to be Kirk Cousins. You can mention all those things that have been talked about, the offensive line, lack of a running game. This is $84 million in guaranteed money. He's got to be an upgrade over Case Keenum. At least that was the thinking. They're 17th in total offense, along with 17th in the analytics Mina gave you, and he just looks lost. How do you not throw a ball to Adam Thielen in the first 35 minutes of the game? Doesn't even get a target. He just doesn't look like he knows where he wants to go with the football.
So when you see that, J.A. Adonde, no targets for Thielen for the first half of the game, is that because of Cousins or is it because of the game the offensive coordinator is calling because the man got fired today?
Or you could give the defense some credit, too, for taking Thielen away. Obviously, he was going to be a primary target for the Seattle defense. But you can't blame Kirk Cousins for being Kirk Cousins. And he's been pretty much what they should have expected him to be when they signed him to that big contract. You look at his quarterback rating, it's the second best it's been in his career as a starter. His completion percentage is about the same. Unfortunately, the interceptions are up there as well. So really, this isn't about the offense coordinator. This isn't about Kirk Cousins. It's about the guy that signed him to the $84 million contract.
So if I was trying to suss this out, your answer would be the GM here?
I think so. Why? And you can't blame Kirk Cousins for having to adjust to a new offensive coordinator if the solution is to bring in another offensive coordinator or have him adjust to a different system or at least some
Mina, you want to address that?
System if he's already struggling to adjust?
Yeah, Tony, you pointed out, this team should be as good. Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback than Case Keenum, but he might not be a better quarterback for this offense, behind this offensive line, which has been bad for 2 years and didn't really improve going into the season. So Jay is right to single out the GM in terms of not anticipating that he would have these problems under pressure as he has throughout the course of his career.
I just think, you can say Cousins has had these numbers before. That was really with Washington's receivers. He's playing with Thielen and Diggs and Rudolph. He should have a lot better numbers in this offense than he's ever had.
Well, his history is he is Kirk Cousins. I mean, he doesn't beat winning teams. He beats up on losing teams. That was true in Washington. It's been true so far in Minnesota. He hasn't beaten one team over 500 this year. That's what you get.
After seeing him last night, anybody think this Minnesota team is a playoff team? Adonde, around the horn to you.
No.
Kalisha?
I think they still may be. I mean, it's at the bottom of the
Paige?
NFC. It's pretty rough.
In the land of the blind, they can see a little bit.
Nina Kives.
I think they'll get the 6th seed and then get rolled by Chicago.
Right. I want to talk about one particular play in this game. It was 6-0 when Bobby Wagner pole vaulted over the line. Flag was thrown, and the flag was picked up. The rule, placing a hand or hands on a teammate or opponent to gain additional height to block an attempted kick, heretofore, ipso facto, yada yada, illegal. Tim Kalisha, how do you rule on the Wagner block?
The official watching the play, standing behind the kicker, throws the flag right away. I'd like to see a little transparency on how that was determined to pick it up. It's an illegal play. It was a big play. I'm not going to say it's a game-changing play because I don't think the Vikings were ever going to score until they were out of the game. But it's a huge mistake to miss. I don't know why they overruled it.
Jay Adonde?
Yeah, I mean, you can't anticipate the double play, as they would say in baseball, so we don't know if they would have gone on to score a touchdown given the reprieve, but it should have been called. More importantly, we deserve to hear from the officials when mistakes like this happen. Clearly, he thought he saw something, and then they pick up the flag. Why can't we hear from them? We should have more accountability from the officials, especially as we get into the era of legalized
Woody
games.
Page, letter of the law, spirit of the law. What Wagner did yesterday, is that illegal?
Yes, it was. I think he went overboard in regard to being on with both hands on teammates. And that's not the law now in the NFL. But I think officials, like coaches, should be able to call for a challenge. Why can't they go to New York in a play like that?
Officials challenging their own call? Where are you going with here, Woody?
Absolutely. They have a conference for 2 minutes. We see it all the time.
So now the officials
Why don't
challenge.
you say, take a look at this and let us know?
The official throws a flag to a
Why
flag
not?
here. This is perfectly Woody Page. I mean, I don't even understand what you're trying to say there. Mina, I saw you online last night, all right? You were addressing this maybe from the Seahawks side of it, maybe from your youth as a Seahawks fan. But what you saw last night, should that be a legal play or an illegal play?
Yeah, it was a foul. I was joking. It was obviously a foul. I will point out that according to our metrics, it dropped the win probability for the Vikings from 22% to 16%. So I don't think it was a game-changing play. Now, you could argue they would have gotten the penalty and gone for the score, but we're talking about an offense at that point that had gone 2 for 10 on 3rd down and gotten stuffed 4 times previously. I don't think anyone can argue
I recognize not assuming the double play as a mixed sports analogy Adonde gave us before. But the idea that this was a 6-0 game, would have been an automatic first down and a chance to score a touchdown in the final 5 minutes of the game. I think that has an enormous effect on the game. Mina, I'm going to bring you out right here. Seahawks, your account solidified the wild card 1 last night. How are they positioning themselves going into the playoffs, and how should other teams see the Seahawks as far as the playoff matchup's concerned?
Yeah, they're pretty much locked into the 5th seed at this point. And I think what we saw from them is something we've been seeing over the course of the last couple of weeks, Tony, which is that a good run game and a shutdown defense can win in December. And the Seattle defense is what won that game last night. Heaven knows Russell Wilson didn't. I think that was more of an aberration than anything. But that defense is scary, along with, the Cowboys and the Bears in the NFC.
A good run defense and a shutdown defense, a good run game and a shutdown defense can win. That's what the 4-seed Cowboys are hoping. They're going to play each other. I think the Cowboys feel good about the fact they stopped the run very well. I think Seattle feels great about the fact they already beat Dallas this year.
It is amazing, isn't it? In this season, the way the season started, okay, the way the refs were officiating defense and the way defenses were playing opposed to the way offense was playing, somehow in the last 2 months, Woody Page, are you sensing that defense is not back, because it's just stupid to call it back or not here, but the idea defense can win in this league this season?
I don't think that has anything to do. Teams like the Bears are playing good defense. They have since the beginning of the season. I think the players are learning what the new system will allow them to do. So we're not seeing the helmet to helmet like we did early in the year. And I think the officials, and a lot of them are new, Tony. They are now full-time officials that they're seeing. I was with about 12 of them over the weekend in San Francisco because they both games, officials stayed there, and they said that they think it's evolving. They're all learning it. So I think
all
it's
right,
a combination.
But I mean, it's not the referees that are winning or losing games. It's the defenses that we saw what Baltimore did to Kansas City, nearly won that game. We saw what the Bears did to the Rams. We saw what the Cowboys have done the last couple of weeks to the Saints 2 weeks ago. I'm just wondering if defense is back. I'll go ahead and say it. We'll move on. Let's talk basketball. LeBron and Wade for the last time. Seeing the emotion and love play out like it did. Consider that as you consider this Eric Neem story in The Athletic about Giannis not wanting to work out and hang out with guys he competes with. Quote, I can't work out with you in the summer and then play you in a few months. Jay, when you hear that from Giannis, but see what LeBron and Wade have done, what do you think?
Well, listening to LeBron and Wade the last couple of days talk about their friendship, you realize that friendship changed the course of the NBA, right? Their familiarity with each other, desire to play with each other, led to the formation of the Heat super team, changed the course of the league. So Giannis might want to take that into account and get some friends, some superstar buddies. He doesn't have the benefit of having played AAU with these guys. He doesn't have the benefit of playing national team with these guys. So he better get together with them. He's going to need another superstar if he wants to win a championship. That's how it works.
So you think friendship is important? With friendship with your competitors and then potential free agency is important. Kimes, how about you?
Two names mentioned there, LeBron and Giannis, different approaches, right, to this whole friendship in the NBA thing. They're also the two leading MVP candidates. Clearly different strokes for different folks. It doesn't affect their game. Now, if I'm a Bucks fan, though, I'm happy to hear this because the less palling around he does with superstars in the offseason, the better chances, I think, of him staying in Milwaukee.
You brought up two MVP candidates. Throw a third one in there, Kawhi Leonard. We know how he has reacted to friendships between teammates and opposing players in the past as well. Woody Page, how do you see this?
Well, J.A., how'd that friends with benefits work out for Carmelo Anthony? Not at all. I mean, he had never won a championship. He doesn't need friends. He just needs a general manager that continues to get him players. There's no reason for him to go work out. He's a six-syllable guy with 5 tools, and he can play with people he wants to. He reached out to Kobe Bryant. I think that was very smart. He got advice. He got tips about his game. He's been hearing about it all season. You see what he's doing this year with his numbers. He is an MVP candidate. He didn't need to go play pickup in New York with these guys.
6-syllable guy with 5 tools. Anybody want to count that out? Did Woody Page get it right? Kalishaw after the horn.
I'll tell you two. Cool.
Friendship, I think it's overrated in life, overrated on this show, overrated in the NBA. You don't need to go that route. For the same reason Mina said, the Bucks, he's not just anxious for the day that he gets to LA or Miami. He actually likes it in Milwaukee. Good to hear.
Final ruling, a 5-syllable name and a 5-tool player, Woody Page, docking a point. But it's all right. It's good. I appreciate the effort. Kimes, Page, Kalishaw, Adonde, anybody's ball game in buy or sell.
Depends on how you pronounce it.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't depend on how you pronounce it. It depends on how he pronounces it. Maybe without Butler.
I'm buying that he's frustrated, but I'm selling the idea that this is a huge problem. If you look at Joel Embiid's numbers before and after Butler arrived, they're basically identical. His shot attempts, his efficiency is down a little bit, but his offensive rating is actually increased. Now, he's obviously coming off of a bit of a slump, and he still needs to learn how to play with Butler, but by and large, this is not a huge issue.
Woody Page?
Well, I'm selling his explanation and his clarification. I mean, we know exactly what's going on there. He's no longer the man. It's Butler. And now he gets another opportunity, possibly for a month or so, with a groin injury. And let's see what you got, Joel. Rather than talking about it, go out and show it.
I'm buying the clarification and that things are generally all right. I'm selling Woody's contention that he's not the man. They're just trying to incorporate Jimmy Butler. Joel Embiid is very much the man on the Sixers, and things will eventually work out fine for him.
I'm selling everything. The numbers that matter, they're 10-3 with Jimmy Butler in the starting lineup. So I don't understand how Joel Embiid could be uncomfortable with winning at that rate.
Buy or sell, too, whether you believe the Yankees when they say they've got enough outfielders, they don't need Bryce Harper. There's also reports they could be in play for Manny Machado. Reports they could have a trade with the Mets for Noah Syndergaard. Woody, Yankees not needing Harper, prioritizing Machado, buy or sell?
Sure, I'm buying that. You got Gregorius, who hit 28 home runs with Tommy John surgery. He's probably not going to be a factor the entire season. You don't need it. You already got 7 outfielders. You don't need to crowd it anymore with another star when unique shortstop is available there that could help you next season.
Tim Kalishaw?
I'm buying that they have an enormous contract in Stanton's that they could move if they wanted to, and they can't add another one in the outfield. But Machado can play short, he can play third, he can play short while Gregorius is out, he can move to third, and his WAR is right behind Bryce Harper's, but he's a lot cheaper.
I'm not buying Harper, given the glut in the outfield and given their astronomical payroll already. I'm selling on Machado. That might just be the disappointed Dodger fan in me, though.
The glut in the outfield includes Jacoby Ellsbury, includes Brett Gardner, it's not like everybody is Judge and Stanton. Kimes, how about you?
Yeah, I'm buying it. This is the new Yankees. They do have some discipline. Granted, they did spend all that money on Stanton, but they didn't go all in on Patrick Corbin, who they actually could have used. They are spending with a little bit more care this offseason.
Buy or sell 3, looking at the responses to the vote for the Hall of Fame, talking about Harold Baines and Lee Smith getting in. It's been universally panned, so I'm wondering if baseball is going to need to consider how they came to this and what the new Veterans Committee, which is called the Today's Era Committee, how that 16-person panel voted compared to 422 baseball voters annually, and how that panel this year included Baines' former owner, Baines' former manager, Baines' former teammate, Baines' former GM as part of the 12 people who voted him in. Tim, this is very intriguing. Do you think the reaction to Baines and this vote will have an effect on future voting?
I hope it cuts down on some of these players getting in. I mean, I'm sorry for Harold Baines. He was getting 6% of the vote when he was in the regular Hall of Fame vote. His numbers aren't anywhere near Fred McGriff's and Larry Walker's, who are just getting 21% of the vote. I don't know how he gets a position in Cleveland.
I'll buy Harold Baines not meeting the threshold of a Hall of Famer, but I'm selling the outrage that somehow this is a travesty. It's no more of a travesty than voters not voting for Babe Ruth or Willie Mays or Hank Aaron to get in. It's no more of a travesty than the fact that Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are not in.
Mina Kimes?
Yeah, I need a friendly panel like that scoring me on this show. It's not a travesty, but it is ridiculous. The committee is supposed to rectify past wrongs, not vote their friends in. This is just gerrymandering by another name.
Gerrymandering by another name. Okay, let's come up with a name then. Is it Harold Bainesing instead of gerrymandering? Paige, how about you?
How about Jerry Reinsdorf?
Ah, there you go. What do you mean?
Tony La Russa? I mean, really? He just barely got it. He belongs in the Hall of Very Good. This committee is not today's era, it's today's era, and they made one.
Oh, how does he do it? That was a Hall of Fame worthy answer from Woody Page. I don't even know if there was a 14-point answer on the table, but he got it. Passed over Mina Kimes and Jay Adande in the move. Kalishaw versus Page. This is the alt on the Raiders firing of GM Reggie McKenzie. Surprising. Woody, what's Gruden's play here if he's surprised that the GM of the team he's running is fired?
Oh, we know he wasn't surprised. He said he was his very good friend. He didn't even reach out to call him and say, I'm sorry it happened. His play is he's going to be president, general manager, and coach of the team when he goes to Vegas. We know that.
I don't think it's his play so much as the Raiders played. They've decided, we're paying you $75 million. Things aren't going well. You're going to be the head coach. You're going to be the GM. You're going to do everything here until we start to see some results.
And when are those results coming, Tim? When are we going to start to see those results?
About 3 years.
Oh, okay. So you think they're coming at least? Okay. Well, that's more than I thought. Point, Woody Page.
Better in 3 years.
We'll move on. Showdown 2.
Babe Ruth with that swinging that bat. I got him hitting $140 with 8 homers. And he's like, "Are you nuts?" And I'm like, I would strike Babe Ruth out every time. It was a different game. I mean, a guy ate hot dogs and drank beer and did whatever he did.
Well, that's Adam Ottavino. Woody, a former Rockies reliever. He's now a free agent to MLB's Statcast podcast. Tim, you think Babe would struggle in today's MLB?
Has Adam seen the Rangers rotation? Heck, has he seen Oakland's rotation? And they're good. Yeah, I think Babe would be fine in today's game. If he slumped a little, he'd back off on hot dogs.
Tim,
a nice massage.
I think that Adam is a great guy. He's fun to talk to. But today,
Terrific.
Babe Ruth would be 123 years old. Of course he would strike him out.
Yes,
but
right,
also, Babe in the day would strike out Ottavino every time he faced him.
True. Do you think Babe Ruth can? Do you think this is going to affect Ottavino's free agency? Actually, is another question I would want to ask. Not enough time. Woody Page, take the FaceTime.
Yes.
You surprised?
Over the weekend at a Knicks game, a guy in the second row was trying to get the guy in front of him to sit down. Instead of saying down in front, he grabbed the guy's jacket and was pulling at it. And the guy turned around. He was assistant coach Trayvon Bryant. And he said, don't touch me. I'm not a wax museum. Well, the fan should have gone just down the street from the